Hey everyone, should you summon for Summertime Joyce? First, I can't wait for the Stellar Blade collab in Nikkei, and second, if you're thinking about summoning on the Tenkafuma summer banners, I would highly suggest that you just skip it because it's very gimmicky and it revolves around guarding units, which is kind of bad. Now, back to Summertime Joyce. Her exclusive bond is not that great, so even if you master it, it's only a 70% chance to debuff the enemy using a single target attack. This is still good, but if you just get one copy, it's really not a high chance to defense break, so you can't really use this reliably if you need to defense break, especially if you don't have a unit that can actually defense break like OP Bug. So if you get this bond or not, it doesn't really matter, but if you do decide to get this bond and use it for Summertime Joyce, it is highly suggested that you master this out to reduce the RNG. Now, if you're a new player and this is the only banners that you're currently seeing, Summertime Joyce, Darlene, and Felice, then I would suggest that you should at least just try to get a copy of her because she is still a good unit, just not that amazing like a unit like Christmas Mirabelle or Heidi. So what makes her sort of weak is her skill 3. So what it does is it does sleep to the enemies, which is kind of pointless because pretty much all bosses are immune to sleep. So this skill is basically used only for PvP. However, you can still use this ability to remove buffs on the enemies. And when you use her Astrogen power, it ignores resistance, so that's amazing. Now, if you're using this in PvP or PvE and an enemy can be asleep, her skill 2 will allow her to strike this enemy without waking them up, which is insane. However, if you notice, her damage is based on how much debuffs the enemy has, so the less amount of debuffs, the less amount of damage. So some people are saying she is weak and she cannot kill tanks. That is true because the way people are building her is effect hit and crit. And if you've seen the $100 package, it has effect hit in the ring, which is terrible for damage. So in total, if you use the $100 package, she'll have over 100 plus effect hit, but that means her damage will be low because her attack will be drastically lower without an attack ring. And her skill 1 has unbuffable, which is amazing for people that rely on buffs. So units like Seneca or someone like Aubryn and Rosalie that gets like immortality after they die will no longer be able to get the immortality buff. Or you're fighting someone like Hermes or light bosses and they just give team immunity and invincibility. As long as they cannot clear debuffs, then they will no longer be able to get any type of annoying buffs. So if you're using it for PvP, you have to be careful when you're fighting units like Darlene or Radiant of Light Darlene, because Darlene is immune to stun and sleep, and if you're trying to snipe an annoying unit on slot 4 like Aubryn or Felicia, she's going to cleanse them and give them immunity, which is super annoying, and you landing that debuff was wasted because Darlene just cleansed it all. And Radiant of Light Darlene can also clear one debuff from the entire team if an enemy has a debuff and you hit them, so that's also very much a counter to her. And not only that, if you fail to land any debuffs, so let's just say you're landing 1 debuffs, and then they remove it, and you chain into skill 2, they are not going to get that defense break because Radiant of Light Darlene already cleansed all the debuffs that you were trying to put on the enemy to chain into the skill 2 to give the entire enemy team defense break. You also need to be careful about evasion units because unlike Akaoni or Anastasia, Summertime Joyce does not have an extra hit rate, so if you're trying to snipe someone like Nanukasi, Clone Khaleesi, or any type of evasion unit and you miss, you are pretty much dead. So you need to be careful about that. She is a very advanced unit to play, so if you're trying to make her a pure nuker type unit, you would need to set up a lot of debuffs with a rage set to even do that kind of damage. So you would need someone like Odia, Adalia, and make them land the debuffs before she gets to attack, and by then they should have at least over 5-6 plus debuffs, assuming you land them all, and then chain it into her skill 2 to kill them all. Now, if you're trying to do this to kill tanks, you really need that amount of debuffs. If you're trying to kill just regular units like Shino, Nanukasi, she can pretty much kill them as long as she doesn't miss. For PvE, she's not going to be super amazing because if she's your only debuffer and you have no one else that can debuff, then her skill 2 basically does nothing. Even in PvP, if you only have her as your only type of debuffer and she fails to debuff, then her skill 2 will do nothing, especially if you do not have enough Astrogen powers to activate her skill 3 to guarantee land the debuffs. Even though I suggest new players get this unit and older players skip it, really depends on you. You do not need to skip or summon, but the unbuffable will help new players because she is one of the only units that currently out that is currently one of the strongest units that a new player can currently get that has unbuffable, so it can be useful in some floors in virtual reality that has infinite buffs. So like if you're fighting Lena with infinite regen and health regen, she can give Lena unbuffable so she can no longer keep healing, or other floors that the enemies keep giving themselves attack buffs and shields like Ariel. But since since summertime Joyce is fire, she might miss units like Ariel, but other units that also get shields like that, like Guardian Ariel, you can cancel the infinite shields that they get. I would put her on the A tier. She's not super amazing, but she's not like super weak. She has her uses, but don't expect her to be a nuker like Heidi and Christmas Mirable and other units like Hong Kong Doll or even the regular Green Celeste. Also remember that summertime Patra is also coming. I think she's more useful than Summertime Joyce because Summertime Patra can counter units that counter you, does flanking, or does an extra follow-up attack. So she counters units like Seaside Nocelyn, Felicia, Anastasia, and Akaoni. So all those units that can like flank you with Akaoni or Felicia's counterattack, or Anastasia's extra attack after she gets max morale meter. After they do any of those extra attacks on you, your entire team will get healed, which is amazing. Also, if you need someone for the yellow hunt, you can use Summertime Patra as well, because since the enemies are constantly flanking you, you're going to be constantly getting healed, so you do not have to worry about getting killed anymore or having your heals on cooldown and you can't heal because you've already wasted it. This will help you just auto the light hunt because you're going to be at full HP constantly when the enemies are constantly flanking you. She is also good for PvP as well, just in case you get a random counter from Erica or a random flanking and you get healed. Because of that random flanking, that usually kills you because you weren't expecting it and they were constantly flanking you for some unknown reason, even though they have like 2% chance to flank and your team is just getting double teamed non-stop. This will prevent that from happening and you will be constantly getting healed, which is a lifesaver. Plus, her ultimate has a revive buff, so just in case somehow they do a lot of damage, you can revive them as long as you're able to use the revive buff before they die. So if you could only choose one or the other, I would suggest that you summon for Patra. That's coming out in part 2, I think. But even then, if you feel that you do not need another healer like her to counter someone like Seaside Noslin and a ton of flanking, then you can go ahead and skip. But I think she is one of the better units to summon in the game because the enemies are constantly having random flanking, counter attacks, and just really annoying combos that will just have extra attacks non-stop on you. If you have extra tickets or gems to spare, then you can go ahead to summon if you feel like you need these units. But if not, then you should go ahead and just skip them and save up for the next collab or whatever good unit there is coming. If you're into PvP though, I would suggest that you just wait and summon for Patra, because when real-time PvP comes, I think she has more use than Summertime Joyce. However, Summertime Joyce is good unit as well, but she needs to be like really decked out like insanely. Unless you're using it for as a debuffer type unit, then you can go ahead and summon her and chain her with like your other DPS units. If you don't have the skill mods to level up these units, you might as well skip, because you might already have a ton of units that you're trying to use, but you just don't have enough skill mods to use them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip Summertime Joyce and I'm going to wait for Summertime Patra, because tickets are really not a lot to get in this game. They don't give that much. I almost have enough for pity, so I'm just going to wait for Summertime Patra, because most likely I'm going to hit pity on that, and I really don't want to use that much gems to summon. So my final decision is you shouldn't summon Summertime Joyce and you should summon for Summertime Patra, but this all depends on you and how much resources you have. So if you have enough to summon on both, then go ahead. But if you are very limited or you're not sure what to get, it's better to save up for a rerun of Christmas Mirabelle or Psycha if you need them, because they will cost around 1,200 tickets or a ton of gems if you do not have any tickets right now and you just have a lot of gems. So really, it depends on what your focus is on this game. So if you're more into PvP, then getting Summertime Joyce is a good choice, and Summer Patra as well, but that will cost you a lot of gems or tickets and a ton of skill mods. If you are a more casual player and you're focused more on PvE content, then you should skip Summertime Joyce and go for Summertime Patra instead. And if you're just collecting for all the gallery scenes, then go ahead and summon as well. Most of my content are for casual play for PvE, which is why I don't get units that are PvP focused like Nanukasi, Claire, and all that stuff. So that's why when you look at my roster of what units I have, I don't really have much PvP units like Guardian Aerial. But I do PvP sometimes when I feel like it. So some people who follow what I summon and should basically have all the units that I have to clear all the contents, even auto elite mode. So that's how some people are clearing content. They can just copy paste my team and that's how they clear some of the content. But if they don't have my units, then they need to look for other type of teams. But having a unit doesn't really help you clear content. The real way to clear content is having enough stats. So depending on your gears, that is what determines if you're able to survive elite mode or any of the other PvE or PvP content in this game. So let's just say that everyone is using that free attack set. If yours upgraded very poorly, you could have way lower stats than someone who has the perfect stat upgrade on those equipments. Anyways, that's it for this video. I'll see you guys in the next video, and if you still have any questions, you can just ask them in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.